So what I want to do today is actually take you through the two images that I shot in my last video. I'll put them up on the screen now in case you haven't seen the video, but I thought it'd be a worthwhile process just showing you my whole editing workflow with two different images and just show you the things that I think about when I'm going through and editing an image. Editing for me is a pretty important part of the entire process. It's something that I do consider often when I'm out composing a scene, and just knowing what I can do in Lightroom and Photoshop helps me figure out my composition and what I can achieve quicker out in the field, because I know that if there's certain things that I'd like to change or alter, for example, if there's things in the scene that are distractions but I can remove them in post, then it just makes the whole process a lot easier. And it also helps me think about certain things like colors or things that I might be able to enhance in Lightroom or Photoshop just to bring out the subject a bit more if it's not looking, depending on the light, for example, or whatever the case may be. If I know I can bring something out or I might be able to enhance something just to make the composition stand out a bit more or a bit more punchy, or just make the subject pop a bit more. It just helps knowing what I can do and just knowing my workflow and those sorts of things. The other thing I thought that might be useful is not many Australians get out in amongst the snow, so I do get people asking me for tips on editing snow images. So I just thought showing you the things that I think about or that I might do to edit my snow images might just be a useful lesson for you. So I'll load up the computer and we'll take you through just my editing process and some things that you can consider. So let's go. So let's go into Lightroom. All right, so this is the first shot that I took, and it's a shot that I've taken before. And yeah, every now and then I'll go back to a location or a subject and always just see, depending on the conditions, how good they are, if I can get a better shot, or, you know, with snow gums, for example, the colors do change every year. Different parts of the bark comes off, reveals different colors underneath, and at different times of year, the color's different. So, and the snow's always different too. So, yeah, it's always, I always find, because I'm always around this region, it's close to home, it's easy for me to go back. So, I've got this image. This is the raw file. So I'm in Lightroom. Now, my workflow, I try and keep things pretty simple. Depends on what, you know, what you classify simple as. But I do probably half my editing in Lightroom and half in Photoshop. And depends on, each scene is different. So sometimes I'll only edit, you know, 80% of it in Lightroom, and then only, you know, 20% in Photoshop. Depends on the actual scene, depends on what I'm doing, what I want to achieve, and all of that. So with this scene, I'll probably do a mix between Lightroom and Photoshop. All right. So what I like to have open firstly is the histogram. I always like to look at that. It's the first thing I look at when I come into an image, and just see how well it's exposed. And then I look at what I want to bring out or what I want to enhance or change that just isn't feeling right. So generally with my images, I'll try and get them to a nice flat, bright place in Lightroom, and then move over into Photoshop to do color and contrast adjustments, selective adjustments. So in Lightroom, I'm just basically making global adjustments, as you might know. Whenever you move a slider, it affects the entire image. So I'm mindful of that, and I only do things, how can I say, selectively with the global adjustments, as I don't want to, you know, if I make an adjustment, say for example, to the highlights, if I find the background there is too bright, it's going to affect the highlights in the entire scene. So it might bring down various highlights in other areas that I don't want to affect. So I'm mindful of that. I'll only do the main adjustments that I see that I need to do in Lightroom, and then move over to Photoshop to be a bit more selective. All right, so all I really need to do here, and what I'm looking at, is there's a few distractions. So there's a distraction just there that I want to get rid of, which I'll probably go to Photoshop for. I could do it in Lightroom and just a few other things. But mostly you probably just want to even out the dark tree trunks, just bring them up a bit, and then, yeah, maybe even bring up the white. It depends. I'll just see what I can do. So when we're looking at these tabs here, we've got all these different tabs, and I mostly just work in the basic tab. I'll go through each one and just show you what I do, but mostly in the basic tab, and usually in the color mix as well if I need to make any color adjustments. Just a few quick points or tips just straight off the bat. So you might know that when you go in, open up these tabs, sometimes you can get too many of them open. It just becomes a bit of a nightmare having so many open and to go get back to the one that you want and that sort of thing. So what you can do is, if you actually get the mouse and hover over somewhere on this develop panel, right click in the middle of one of these areas and just select solo mode. And if you do that, what it will do, it will only keep open the tab that you've selected. So if I go from color mixer to basic, it closes color mixer and then just keeps the basic open. So that's a nice little thing just to keep things a bit more organized. All right. So what I want to do is go through and just see what I can do in terms of bringing this out a bit more. So let's have a look and raise the shadows a bit, bring that up a bit, see how much exposure I can bring up. I like to get particularly my snow scenes as bright as I can, but yeah, just want to be mindful of not clipping any of that white area. So just raise the shadows a tad, raise the blacks a little bit. I rarely touch contrast, because contrast in Lightroom is basically just doing a global adjustment, but it's basically just working with the blacks and the whites. So it's adding black and then adding white as well, the black and white sliders. So you can just do that just here yourself, just have a bit more control. But yeah, I just don't like the harsh contrast that it applies. Sometimes I might use it if it really is like a flat scene, but generally I'll go to Photoshop just to add something I talk about a bit later on, which is mid-tone contrast. So I generally don't touch the contrast. So yeah, I've already got that. It's nice. It's opened up the bark there. It's a bit more balanced the scene just by making a few little adjustments there. And if you look at just before, after, and I'm just clicking on I think it's the backslash key under the delete key, and that's just a good way of checking before and after. All right, so going back up here, we've opened up the trunk, made it a bit more balanced with the white in the background. And yeah, so I like to open that up first just so I can see the true colors a lot better. And what I'll look at now is my white balance. So, white balance is very subjective, depends on what you're going for. Generally, neutral is best if you can go neutral. Now, another tip, when I'm processing snow scenes, to get a really good sense of pure white, I like to change the background and use that as a reference point. So your background here you can actually change the color of that. So if you just go in here, that area just there, and click on white, it will give you a much better white point to work with. Sometimes if you're working in quite a darker area like that, sometimes it's hard to determine how white it is. But yeah, using that just helps then figure out where you can easily see the coolness there, and if you go like that, so yeah, just somewhere in between, go about there. Alright, so what I might do, instead of just actually adding vibrance and saturation, which you could do to bring it out a bit more, what that's doing, it's bringing out all the colours everywhere. So you're getting a much more bluish kind of enhancement there on the snow. And yeah, it's just bringing everything out that you may not want. So all I want to do is just bring out the yellow a bit more. So I might go get the yellow, bring that up a bit more. Just like that. And the hue, just to make sure it's, with the hue I can probably make it a bit more, just bring that over it just a tad. So yeah, about that. I just feel like there's a bit of a magenta cast in there, so I might just, maybe about 12. So yeah, I'll just go about there. All right, so I'm pretty happy with that. That looks quite good. So before, after, and that's already looking quite good. So I'm quite happy with that. So what I'll do is I'll now take it into Photoshop. So how we get it over to Photoshop, you just go down to the grid down here with all your images. You right click on this, edit in and open in Adobe Photoshop. All right, so we've got our image here. What I'll do is I'll just do a bit of a cleanup. I like using the remove tool. That's quite a nice tool that gets rid of things very well. It uses generative fill, I think, or maybe it's just AI, but it gets rid of things and picks up things really well. So I'll just go through and get rid of that. Some of these little twigs down here, bit of a distraction. I like to have quite a clean scene. Just get rid of some of these around here. Whatever I see, just give a little pass over with the remove tool. Okay, so what do I want to do? So mostly what I do in Photoshop is I'll bring it over, do a bit of a cleanup, but also I like to add my contrast over here. So what I do is I use a panel for luminosity masks, and I won't go into the detail of luminosity masks today, but what it basically allows me to do is be really selective with what areas I want to make an adjustment to. So a luminosity mask is basically applying a mask over an adjustment layer. So if you're making an adjustment, a contrast adjustment using your levels or your curves, if you do that on its own, it will do a global adjustment like in Lightroom. But by using a mask on top of that adjustment layer, it will only reveal the adjustment in anywhere that is white or grey. Anything that's black in the mask, it will not reveal any of that adjustment, and it masks it back basically. So with this panel, and this panel I can leave a link in the description. You can get the free version. There's a free version you can just download and have a play with, and then there's also a paid version, which is just a lifetime purchase. It's just a one-off, and it just gives you a bit more features that you can use to be a bit more precise with your selections. So if you look at this on here, you've got these numbers here, 1 to 6, 1 to 6 going backwards, and 1 to 3 down here. So effectively, you've got different tonal ranges that you can select a mask with. So you've got what are my highlights, or my lights masks. So anything that's light, and as you go down the scale, it narrows that selection further. So 1 is the most, and then 6 is the least. So 6 is your brightest areas only showing, but 1 is pretty much any light areas showing. So if you went for like a 3, that really blacks out or masks out those trunks and just allows you to select the white areas and make an adjustment with that. Similarly with the opposite, so your darks or your shadows, you can go down the range there and just make a selection for the dark areas. And then lastly, down the bottom, this is just your midtones. And this is where I create mid-tone contrast. So let me just go through firstly and just make a quick adjustment. So what do I want to do? So I'd like to just raise up the dark areas a little bit just to make them come out a little bit more. So what I'll do is I'll get a masks, a darks 2 and add it to a curves layer. So I've got my curve here. And when I make that adjustment, you'll see here I've got my curve and then that mask is over the top of it. So see that? So the only parts that are going to be affected is the white areas. So let's make that adjustment. So I'll just grab the middle area and bring it up a little bit. And see that? It's just affecting the dark areas. So I'll just bring that up a little bit. Just subtle, just brings it out a bit more. Just a nice softer look, and it brings out the colour a little bit more too. So I'll do that. And now what I might do is make a mid-tones contrast adjustment to the entire scene. So what the mid-tones is going to do is just going to leave the white area in the back, like the sky, and just anything else that's in the mid-tones, just kind of just give it a little bit more contrast. So I'll just do that. Number 3, add a levels adjustment layer. And in your levels adjustment layer, you've got 3 points. You've got your black point over here, your mid-tone point, and your white point. So I might just bring the mid-tones down a bit, raise my white point a bit, and then the blacks. So see that? It's just adding a bit more oomph, a bit more punch, bringing it out a bit more. All right, so what might I do now? So I might just play with that color a little bit more. Hue saturation, yellows. Just want to bring that orangey kind of color out a bit more. Feels a little bit green. It's nice. Okay. A bit more punch. So do that. And I might just see what my color balance. So what color balance does is it just allows you to, it's kind of like the color grading tool in Lightroom. You've got your midtones, your shadows, and your highlights. So in the shadows, I might want to add just a bit more coolness. So what I might do is I might actually scrap that. Sometimes it's just playing around with a few different things just to see what works and what doesn't. I don't always know. So I might do a color balance layer here. Color balance, what is that color balance? So what I've done there is I've just, I'm applying a darks mask just so it only affects the dark areas. So I might do that. Don't mind that. I'll zoom in so you can see it a bit better. Just gives a little bit more yellow there. I'll just see, let's have a look and just see if there's much magenta in that. It feels like there is. I'll put like just like a blank layer. So what you can do is you can just, to get an idea of what color's actually in there, is you just click on a blank layer and then click on your color palette and then just get the pointer. Okay, so it's showing a bit of orange. That's not too bad, actually. That's okay. All right, I'll leave that. Okay, so I think I'm pretty happy with it. I think that's probably where I'd like it. And if you go back to look at Lightroom, you know, this is what it was before, and this is where we've got it. So quite nice, quite happy with it. Yeah. What I'll do is I'll take you through the next shot. I'll bring that one up And yeah, I'll show you how I tackle that image. All right, so we're back in Lightroom, and this is the second image that I took. So again, I've shot this before many times. It's one of my favorite snow guns that I've found. I just love the structure. I talked about this in the previous video, but just how these two trunks just work so nicely together. So let's have a look, go through. Before I do anything, I'll just get the lens correction, just do that brightens it up a bit. Let's might just bring that white down a bit. It's a little strong. Open up the shadows, just reveal those trunks just a bit, or quite a bit actually. Bringing that out. Might just add, see, dehaze actually just brings that out, makes it a bit more punchier as well, which is quite nice. Just reduce the exposure just a tad. What else? White balance. So let's have a look. I reckon I could probably just bring that up. I'll just get the white background. So yeah, just it's a bit too cool. Let's have a look. About 5.8, I'd probably say. Quite nice. So I'll sit around there. I'll just go back because there's quite a lot of white. It's quite bright, so I'll just go back to this. I've got my white reference point, so once I've done that I can just go back to a bit of a dark background. Might just bring out the color a little bit more, just see what vibrance does. I'll just scoot in a little bit just so I can see that color. Go to the color mixer, saturation, just make that pop a bit more, just a tad. Let's have a look at the hue. It's quite nice, just like that. Just see if there's any green areas in the trunk. There's a little bit there. Might just pull that green out just a tad. I think that's quite nice. Just wonder about that magenta kind of cast a little bit. I'll just pull that back like the previous one. About 11. Okay, so that's looking quite nice already. I haven't done a whole lot, mostly just in this basic tab. And there's the before, there's the after, and the colour's really popping quite a bit more there. So that's quite nice. It's getting to the point where, yeah, I'm quite happy with it and could take it over to Photoshop just to make a few slight more adjustments. But that already, as you can see, just doing those adjustments in Lightroom, you don't necessarily need to use Photoshop. You can see that you can really bring that scene to life. If you expose it correctly in the field, you can really bring that to life there, just in that tab there on its own. So yeah, quite happy with that. All right, let's take it into Photoshop. Just do a bit of a cleanup. All right, here we go. So I'll just turn that with vertical images. The brightness, because of how they situate on the screen, can be a bit much. So sometimes I do like to just darken it down in the background a little bit, even though I did say it's good for a white reference point. Just working with the image once you've got that white reference point, I just prefer having that dark background. Okay, so let's do a bit of a cleanup. This thing here, this branch there, is really bothering me, so I just want to get rid of that. So I'll just duplicate that layer to see what the remove tool can do. Come on, yes, boom, just gone like that. How good's that? All right, just clean up some of these little things just here. Just over here. I don't like little things creeping in like that in the frame, so I just like to get rid of them. Nothing wrong with that. All right, I think that's nice. So let's have a look. So what I'll do is, again, I might just raise the darks a little bit. Get a masks, darks 2 in the mask, then add it to a curves layer. Just raise that just a tad, just helps bring the trunks out a bit more pop. And when I'm raising that, it's not bringing up the whites in the back either. See this area here? Watch this. See how it's not affected? It's only affecting the midtones and the darks. So that's exactly what you want. If you don't have that mask on, what happens is, if you keep an eye on that area there again, see it's pushing the whites as well because you're raising it, the curve. So yeah, having that mask on top just really helps with managing certain areas in your scene that you want to adjust and not affect other areas. So that's why I do love luminosity masks. Okay, so I've done that. Might just do a midtones adjustment. Just get a levels adjustment layer. I might actually go the other way and I do like bringing that out just a bit. Or maybe, let's have a look, just go back. I might actually just raise that. That's nice. Just raise it a little bit more. And I might just add, whoops. I want to select the whole trunk, so midtones is, yeah, probably best for that. Okay, add a levels adjustment layer. It's not much. Just subtle. I actually like it quite bright and soft. I don't know if I need too much contrast on that. And to be honest, there's not really much more that I'd probably do. I think it's kind of at that, I've got the colors quite nice. There's not really much more I do. I think I managed to achieve a lot of it really here in Lightroom. So yeah, there's not much there that I would probably do. Let's have a look at the background. I think the sky's just a tad too much. So let's try and select that in the background. Just bring back. I might add like a brightness adjustment layer. Just bring that white down just a little bit. Might do a levels adjustment on that bark. All right, so I'm quite happy with that. I think I've got it to a point that essentially achieving what I wanted to, and just soften it a little bit, bring out the colors a bit more, and especially if you go back to what it looked like here. Originally, that's what it was, and to that. But at the moment, I think I've gotten to a point where I'm quite happy. It works well. I've brought out all the color as much as I can. So yeah, so I hope you got something out of that editing tutorial. Just processing a few snow scenes. As you can see, if you're exposing correctly, you really don't need to do too much to it. It's just about knowing really with editing what you actually want to do to the image. You don't just need to edit for the sake of editing. When I'm looking at the scene, I'm looking at what do I need to actually do to get it to the look that I had in mind when I took the actual scene. And sometimes when you're taking it, particularly with snow scenes, you're underexposing most of the time, so you don't want to actually blow out the highlights so you can get the detail in the actual subject. So sometimes you just need to go back and bring that all out, and that's all you need to do. You don't need to just edit for the sake of editing. Just get the stuff done to get it back to what you want it to look like, or what you saw when you were out. And yeah, a lot of the time you really don't need to do a whole lot. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. I've got a few more ideas for editing and going through particular topics in photography that could be useful and helpful to you, such as going through compositional things that I think about in the field. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. And yeah, I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.